Welcome back. I'm Tara, and this is part 2 of my Adobe XD Components tutorial, buttons. If you haven't yet, please check out the first video in the series, Simple Toggles. So, buttons, also known as call to actions, are an important part of UI. Here I've quickly mocked up a primary and secondary button, and I'm going to make them into a component so that I can use them in future projects. So, really quickly, I'm just going to drag this down to the bottom of my board. Going to add component. I can do this in a few ways. I can click the plus sign over here, add a component. I can click Apple K on my keyboard. I'm using a Mac. Shortcuts for PCs are a little different and I don't know them, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. Or I can right click on it and make component. So I just go over here. We're just going to make component, and this is going to be primary button basic. Actually, we're going to call it primary button download, just so that if I need to add a second button of some kind of, I don't know, anything else, I'll have it. And with it selected, we're going to add the hover state. Change the design. I think we just want it to move the normal up 4 pixels and move the text up 2 pixels just to give it a little lift when it's hovered on. Now that we've done that, let's go back to default state and add a focus state. And again, this is the one thing that's really annoying me with components, is that they're closed by default when you switch between them, which just, when I have it open, I need it open. I want it to be open. It's little things. So we're just going to actually pull down the normal fill. And we're going to do this for a couple seconds. I'll show you why. We're going to go back to our default state. Add. So we're going to go back. We're going to turn off the visibility of the normal and dark. And we're just going to change the color of the type. And copy this. And then we're just going to paste it into this state. Oh, and name our state loading state. And with loading state selected to keep the formatting, we'll call this disabled state. And we're going to go and delete the toggle spin. So now that we have that, we'll just run through our states. We have our default state, hover state, focus state, which is just a little darker blue, just to indicate that it's being pressed, loading, and disabled. Okay. Now we're going to move over to prototyping, and we're going to prototype this thing. So by default, because we selected hover, hover is automatically there. So you can see the hover state. And now we're going to, so this button is specifically designed to be used on web opposed to on your mobile devices where you're not going to get a hover animation. But it's nice to have the option and have it in so that you can use your assets and your components across your mobile and your web designs or your app designs just to make it more responsive. So if you create it once, you can give the couple options you need. That way you have them when you need to turn them on later. All right, now that we have this, I'm actually going to add a tap. Actually, sorry, I'm not going to do that. That's going to change it. I'm actually going to add a second interaction here. And this is going to be a tap interaction. And an auto-animate is going to do what it wants. And now I'm going to add a focus state here. And we're just going to increase this by just a couple split seconds to 0.5, just to give it a little more effect when I'm previewing it. So now that default is selected, we can go through. You can see when I hover on it, it does the hover thing. And now that I have focus selected, it actually drops it down. So it actually has a nice little animation, which is why I purposely did that. I moved it down off the thing, so it looks like it's coming down. But now we're kind of stuck. So let's just go back, and with focus selected, we're going to again add a tap gesture, a tap trigger, auto-animate, and we're going to go back to our default state. And this is all done within the component. So before, I would need a board for every one of these actions. If I wanted to add a little like icon or a bookmark icon, I would need to create multiple instances of that in order to demonstrate what it would look like. So these micro interactions are amazing and they're super useful. And I'm going to go a little more into what the breadth of what they can do in my next video, which is going to be on information cards. Okay, so now that we have that, again, we'll click it back. It goes straight to hover because we're still hovered on. And let's just try something. I haven't actually done it yet, so I'm not sure if it's going to work. So what happens if we make the transition go to hover instead of... Okay. We'll go back to default. So it'll go back to where it's supposed to be. So that is, again, you're only going to get a couple out of these. So I'm not actually able to click it through to loading or disabled, and there probably really isn't a need, but there definitely is for, you know, tap and focus. And again, we may want to time transition off of like focus and go to another board. There is a lot of stuff that can be done, and there'll be a lot of stuff that we'll be able to do more of in the future. But for right now, this is amazing and it's so good. And now that I have this one button, I can create multiple versions of this button for use. So it can be a download button, and then if I want to create a button for submit or cancel, I can create them as different buttons and put them into the component library and just build out amazing things that are so flexible. All right. So that was buttons. I didn't really play around with the other one. I just wanted to show the prototyping involved. The next video in this series will focus on nested components like you'd find in an information card. Thank you again for watching. If this content interests you, please follow, or you can check me out at tlpricefreelance.com. If you comment, I will promise I will respond if I see it. I will try to respond. As I may have mentioned before, I am really new to creating video content like this and streaming. So feedback is very important to me. So leave comments. I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to get better at it. And the content I provide is actually going to get more advanced. These are very simple interactions. I'm hoping to do more in-depth stuff and more practical ways to improve your productivity with UI design as going forward. But I wanted to start really simple with my first few videos. Thank you for checking it out again, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.